Okay, that's some breaking news in Florida.
All right, Senator Bill Nelson is speaking at the site of Wednesday's shooting in Florida. Let's listen.
That doesn't talk about Sandy Hook and Las Vegas and Columbine and so forth. So it is time for us to start a serious effort to try to wear down the opposition that is not letting us bring up common sense legislation like we couldn't even get past a couple of years ago, that if you're on the terrorist watch list, you can't buy a gun. That's about as common sense as anything. If you're on the terrorist list, you can't get on an airplane, but you can buy a gun. That's the condition that we find ourselves in, and the same thing with assault weapons put in the hands of irresponsible people. Maybe this will be the turning point. Maybe these students speaking out so boldly as they have on national TV, maybe the parents crying out and speaking so boldly as they have, that maybe this will be the turning point, because in fact enough is enough. Earlier on, I've reaffirmed, I can just tell you that when I was briefed by the headquarters of the FBI Wednesday night about 6:30, they are the ones that told me that the alarm was tripped. They also told me that there was a gas mask, and they thought smoke grenades. As it turned out, there was a gas mask. And in fact, the smoke apparently came from the discharge of the high-velocity rounds, as well as hitting the ceiling. You see the result. It's carnage. So I hope this is a turning point for the entire country. I can tell you I speak for a lot of senators who have been through this. And just a year ago, we had a 14-hour filibuster that so many of us in the Democratic caucus went to the Senate floor and said, this has got to stop. Well, we're going to have to do that filibuster again, but I hope this is the turning point.
Is that how you change the status quo, though, Senator, then? Making a filibuster? I mean, because
you got to change it by changing the law. Now, changing the law means that you got to get the votes to get 60 votes. I know we'll have 49 votes in the Senate, because that's the number of Democrats we have. You got to pick up 11 Republican senators to break the filibuster. In other words, to get to where you can consider the bill. It's called a motion for cloture. And 11 senators, by the way, 11 Republican senators, we couldn't even get yesterday afternoon to take the DACA Dreamers legislation to the floor. We ended up with only 54 votes. We had to have 60. You see how difficult these things are on something as common sense of helping the dreamers stay in this country.
Senator, are there any draft bills or anything out there right now that you think might get a second look at this point, something that's already been out there that sort of sits somewhere in the middle that you could actually get some movement?
Yes, and I'm a co-sponsor of all of them. One of them, for example, is Senator Feinstein's bill. There are a number of us that are sponsoring it that says that you cannot legally purchase an assault weapon. And then it goes on for 100 pages to define what is an assault weapon and what is not an assault weapon. Collector's items, for example, would not be an assault weapon. But I'll tell you what is, and it's the two assault weapons that have got us here in Florida, the AR-15 and the Sig Sauer that took out 49 people in Orlando.
Senator, there's a lot of people who are saying, for years they've been saying, they want the shootings to come to an end, and they haven't come to an end. But the kids we're speaking to today have said if you don't do it, if Marco Rubio doesn't do it, if the Senate doesn't do it, then they're going to do it. What do you tell them?
And don't forget Tallahassee, because the Florida legislature could make a law in this state to outlaw these assault weapons, as other states have done.
But what's your reaction to those kids and their anger?
Well, the kids are just terrific. The fact that they are speaking up as boldly as they are, maybe that's the turning point. You haven't heard students speak up one after another after they have witnessed this carnage and speaking with such conviction.
Senator Nelson, some of these young people are calling for apologies.
All right, that is Florida Democratic Senator Bill Nelson standing on the ground at the site of Wednesday's killing, 17 people dead.